Hi, this is Remembering the Past, the show where we talk about people who've died recently who've had a profound effect on our history, our society, or our culture. Tonight we're going to start out with our feature, Yvonne Craig, who died recently at the age of 78. Yvonne Craig entered our hearts as Batgirl on the popular 1960s television show Batman. She was an Illinois girl born in Taylorville, Illinois, and I have to tell you, she was far more than Batgirl. First of all, she was beautiful. She had a tremendous figure. Her looks alternated between pretty girl next door and downright sexy. She was intelligent, and she was fantastically talented. In fact, she got her start as a dancer for the Ballet Russe. That's pretty big time. One of her most famous turns on television, other than Batgirl, was doing a fantastically sexy freeform dance on Star Trek in front of Captain Kirk. But she got her start in television in the late 50s. One of her first appearances was on Perry Mason with Neil Hamilton. See if you recognize Neil Hamilton's voice.
Oh, hello, hello. Ah, what a welcome sight. May I assume that a share of this pale restorative is for me?
Naturally. You didn't think Mother was going to swill all of it, did you, Bertie?
Well, of course not, my dear Patricia. Though I will admit your mother is a woman of infinite capacity. Though not necessarily for martinis, you understand.
Droll, Bertie. Very droll.
Well, if his voice sounded familiar, that's because a decade later, Neil Hamilton became Commissioner Gordon on Batman, and as Commissioner Gordon, he was the father of Yvonne Craig's character, Batgirl. Now, one of my favorite roles that Yvonne Craig played was on one of my favorite television shows, The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis. She would play one of Dobie's recurring girlfriends. Next to Tuesday Welch, she was probably the most popular girlfriend, and it was always a different character. In this scene, she was Aphrodite Milliken, a health food nut. One of the things I love about it was her father in this episode was Francis X. Bushman. Francis X. Bushman was one of the great stars of silent films. That's why Dobie Gillis was such a great show. You've got a silent film icon and Batgirl in the same show. Here, Dobie's taking Aphrodite to Charlie Wong's ice cream parlor.
Let's go over to Charlie Wong's ice cream parlor.
Ice cream parlor?
Yeah, that's the hangout.
Well, all right, Dobie. For you, I will.
Good.
Do you come here often?
Sure, all the time.
It's just such a frivolous place.
Well, yeah, sure. Well, I figure you gotta frivol once in a while. Well, it's either here or home. Maynard? Maynard. How are you, Maynard?
Cool, Dad.
Maynard, this is Aphrodite Milliken. Aphrodite, this is my friend, Maynard G. Krebs.
Ooh, frantic.
Well, he certainly belongs in such a frivolous place.
Yeah, old Maynard's about as frivoled as you can get. Oh, Charlie. Aphrodite, although I'm not a wealthy man, you may order absolutely anything your heart and stomach desire. Up to,
Did you expect me to swallow one of those sodas?
Huh?
And you were going to swallow... Well, you are not.
No?
你要是把希腊是那关吧？
他不着，我还是着。
你要是那是那，会了。
Chinese? Wow.
Now, here's what you should eat. Nice, sensible refreshment.
In the 60s, she was in 2 Elvis movies. I think she might have dated Elvis for a while. Here she is in It Happened at the World's Fair, which features not only Elvis, but a 9-year-old Kurt Russell. By the way, Aphrodite's name comes up again.
Please, Mike, I think I better go make us some iced tea.
Calm down, honey. You're like a fluttering bird.
Wouldn't you like a glass of iced tea?
Sure, but later. Shirley.
I'm Dorothy.
Oh, well, to me, you'll always be Shirley, a Greek goddess of beauty.
I thought that was Aphrodite.
Could be.
I really ought to go and see about that iced tea.
Honey, you're gonna have a seizure carrying on like this.
I am?
Sure. Racing that sweet little motor of yours on a warm day, that's bad.
I'd really better go and fix that iced tea.
All right, let's get to Batgirl. This is part of a mini documentary on Batman.
After 2 successful seasons, Dozier decided to give fans a treat by introducing a sexy new character.
Holy transformation. 1 minute, plain Barbara Gordon, librarian and Commissioner Gordon's daughter. And the next minute, something new has been added. Batgirl, modeled after her idol, Batman, ready for this crucial moment and off to make her first foray in her own beautiful, beguiling way through her secret exit.
It was Bill Dozier who came up with the thought, well, we'll give Commissioner Gordon a daughter. and she will be like a female Batman. In other words, even her father won't know that she's Batgirl.
Holy apparition!
No, Boy Wonder, I'm Batgirl. You are no longer alone, Caped Crusaders.
Batman producers test actress Yvonne Craig in the newly created role of Batgirl.
Who is she? Where'd she come from?
I have no idea, Robin.
Craig's early training, including ballet studies with the Ballet Russe, came in handy when fighting bad guys.
I think they probably chose me because they knew I had a dance background, and although they didn't want me to do my stunts, and I ultimately did my own stunts, I mean, I kind of talked them into that, they knew that I danced, and what they didn't know was that I rode a motorcycle so I could do the stuff on the bikes.
Now, to get you out of those silk straitjackets.
Holy vanity case! What kind of powder her nose?
Correction, Boy Wonder. It's my electronic Batgirl compact with a laser beam, which will destroy anything.
This test showed the transformation of the dynamic duo into a tremendous trio.
She was actually a little upset with her character. She was supposed to be as good or better than Batman and Robin, but they made her subservient in the show. Nevertheless, a couple years later, she did a public service announcement for the government.
A ticking bomb means trouble for Batman and Robin.
Holy breaking and entering! It's Batgirl!
Quick, Batgirl. Untie us before it's too late.
It's already too late. I've worked for you a long time, and I'm paid less than Robin. Same job, same employer means equal pay for men and women.
No time for jokes, Batgirl.
It's no joke. It's the federal equal pay law.
Holy act of Congress!
If you're not getting equal pay, contact the Wage and Hour Division, U.S. Department of Labor.
Well, she got out of acting a little while after that, and she went into selling real estate, became very successful. One last bit of Yvonne Craig trivia that you didn't see many in the obituaries. For a couple of years in the 60s, she was married to Jimmy Boyd, and if you don't know who he was, this is a couple of years before he was married to Yvonne Craig.
I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus underneath the mistletoe last night. Then I saw Mommy tickle Santa Claus underneath his beard so snowy white.
Yeah, Jimmy Boy was a big star back in the 50s. My wife's always wondered if somebody in her family had something to do with writing that song, but I don't know. Going to move on now to Bud Yorkin, who died recently at the age of 89. He was a producer and director, and he teamed up with Norman Lear to create some of the great comedies of the 1970s for CBS and one for NBC. He and Lear were responsible for the most popular television show of the 1970s and the most controversial. He came back from England after watching a show called Till Death Do Us Part and created this American counterpart.
From Television City in Hollywood. Boy, the way Glenn Miller played.
Songs that made the hit parade.
Guys like us, we had it made. Those were the days.
And we talked about All in the Family when we did the Gene Stapleton podcast. And Yorkin and Lear were also masters of the spin-off. And their first spin-off was Edith Bunker's cousin Maud, who was modeled on Norman Lear's ultra-liberal Manhattan wife. And to play her, they got the Broadway star B. Arthur, and nobody else could have played Maud.
And then there's 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 Maud. That uncompromising, enterprising, anything but tranquilizing. Right on, Maud.
And Bud Yorkin also had a social conscience, so they decided to do a show about a black family in the Chicago projects. It's the show that made Jimmy Walker a star, Good Times.
Keeping your head above water, making a way when you can.
Temporary layoffs.
Good times. Easy credit rip-offs. Good times.
Scratching and surviving.
Good times. Hanging in a jar. Good times. Ain't we lucky we got 'em? Good times.
Well, I said Bud Yorkin did one show for NBC, and like All in the Family was an adaptation of a British show, this time Steptoe and Son, and he got the brilliant Red Fox to play in Sanford and Son. CBS passed on it. Red Fox was temperamental, but he was a comic genius. His Fred Sanford is one of the most memorable characters in television history. Here's Bud Yorkin talking about who his idol was when he first broke into show business.
One man that I chased for many, many years was Billy Wilder in motion pictures. And whenever I had a free moment, if he was shooting a picture, I always got to know him because I asked him if he wanted to volunteer to carry coats or be his gopher. And he laughed. He said, "Why?" I said, "I volunteer just to hang around." And he said, "Come down." So I used to go down and watch Billy Wilder whenever I had a day off or a short, just to watch a genius work. Every picture he made, I just thought, he was impeccable. And his comedy touch was so magical to me. And his writing was beyond. He was a man that I literally put him up on a pedestal. I always thought someday, God, maybe wouldn't it be nice to become a Billy Wilder? Which we learned it's only one Billy Wilder, and I certainly never could hope to have achieved what he did.
And here's Bud Yorkin talking about the difference between comedy and drama.
Not an interpretation of material like a drama is. There's always 3 or 4 interpretations of a scene. There isn't in comedy. Comedy is only one proper way to do it. You're saying at a given moment to an audience, I'm going to make you laugh. I'm going to tell you when to laugh. In a drama, you can take 4 different points of view. One person takes it one way and they cry at that moment. Somebody else doesn't. And that's all good because at least you're getting an emotional response from them. But in comedy, the unique part of that, and why it's I think, so special, and why there are so very few people that do comedy well, write it, direct it, and act in it, is you're saying at a given moment, here's the way you're going to behave. That's a huge difference.
We're going to close tonight with Harry Volkman, who died recently at the age of 89, known to virtually everybody in Chicago. He was one of the first great television weathermen. He was known for his sense of humor, the boutonnieres he wore, and all the appearances he made at high schools and local functions. He was also the first weatherman to issue a tornado warning to the general public in the early 50s when he was working in Oklahoma. Here's Steve Baskerville from WBBM talking about Harry Volkman.
He was one of the first of the television weathermen. Got to start way back in 1950 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Then a few years later, he was a man who broadcast the first televised tornado warning. Just think of that. When he started, there was no radar or computer.
Harry Volkman is with us. What a nice surprise. Welcome.
It's a pleasure to be with you. But in the early days, Harry got a lot of his weather via Morse code on shortwave radio.
As you see the magic of the Channel 2 weather board turning before your eyes.
He always said he loved conveying information about the weather.
Yes, after nearly 70 yesterday, tonight we have near freezing.
But he made it fun, too, and was famous for a certain sound effect.
Of course, the winds took it and just whooshed it right across the city.
He came to Chicago in 1959, working at WMAQ and later at WGN and here at WBBM.
How about a little sunshine? Well, tomorrow you'll have it, Walter.
While he was first and foremost a weather forecaster.
With my regards, this is Harry Volkman, your singing weatherman.
His viewers came to know him for his sense of humor.
That's funny. It says the temperature's 47 degrees at Grand Park.
How strange. I normally get my temperatures from O'Hare.
How about this moment?
This is a radish. Normal-sized radish bite size?
Probably 30 years ago, with Walter Jacobson here at CBS 2.
This radish weighs 7 pounds.
Gonna have to get a room for that at the Radisson Hotel.
Well, we're going to close on that note. I want to thank my producer and IT genius, Sid Tepps. And for Harry Volkman, we're going to close tonight with 2 songs. The first is Al Jolson singing Irving, Berlin.
Blue sky, smiling at me. Nothing but blue sky do I see. Oh, don't know.
And the second is my daughter Charlotte's favorite George Harrison tune.
Here comes the sun, here comes the sun. I say it's alright.